You never think your life will change because of a fast food job. When I first applied to work at the McDonald's off Route 19 in Ohio, it was just supposed to be temporary. I was 19, broke, and trying to save money for community college. The idea was simple. Night shift was quiet, fewer customers, more solitude. That suited me just fine. The store manager, Darla, hired me without much fuss. "You'll be on nights with Joe," she said, a tight smile on her lips. "He's been here a while. Just follow his lead and don't wander." That last part, "don't wander," struck me as odd, but I chalked it up to the usual corporate rules. Maybe she meant not to mess around during work hours. I agreed, signed the papers, and started that Friday night. Joe was in his mid-50s, pale, and always looked like he hadn't slept. He didn't talk much, unless necessary. Our first shift together, he trained me on the register and fryer. It was quiet, just like I hoped. Only a couple of drunk college kids showed up around 1 a.m., and then we cleaned until close. I worked the next few nights without incident. Joe was stiff but reliable, and Darla never checked in. But then the strangeness began. It started with the drive-thru headset. Around 2:30 a.m., the headset crackled to life. I asked, expecting maybe a trucker or a night owl, but there was only static. Then a whisper, "Don't look at the mirrors." I tore the headset off, heart thumping. Joe glanced at me but said nothing, as if it was normal. "You heard that?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "Just ignore it. Who was it?" Joe didn't answer. He just walked into the back and didn't come out for 10 minutes. When he returned, he looked worse palms, sweating, eyes sunken. The next night, things escalated. I was mopping near the restrooms when I heard the toilets flush. It was 3:04 a.m., and we hadn't had a customer in over an hour. I waited, thinking Joe had gone in, but he was on the grill. I could see him. "Joe," I said quietly, "there's someone in the bathroom." He didn't look up. "Leave it alone." Against my better judgment, I walked in. The door creaked open slowly. The men's restroom was empty. I stepped toward the stall and saw something that made my stomach twist. Single footprint on the tile. Barefoot, wet, but it was facing the wall. I spun and left immediately. When I told Joe, he didn't react, just wiped his forehead and muttered, "She's getting bold." "Who?" I demanded. He finally looked me in the eye. "There's a reason night shift never lasts more than 2 months. He told me about the woman. Years ago, before this McDonald's was built, there had been a gas station on this land. One night, a young woman came in screaming that someone was following her. The clerk locked the door and called the cops, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. No trace, just her coat in the freezer. A month later, the clerk disappeared. The place shut down. Eventually, McDonald's bought the land and built over it. Since then, every night shift worker had reported weird flickers in the mirror, the sound of a woman sobbing from the freezer. I didn't believe in ghosts, but I believed in what I saw. And then came the night. I truly regretted ever applying. It was a Tuesday, 2:47 a.m. I was restocking saucers when I saw a movement in the play area. It's usually closed off at night, and it's dark in there, but the red slide, just barely visible, was moving. I walked closer, chills running down my spine. As I approached the glass, the air grew colder. The slide moved again, slower this time. Then I saw her, a pale face, just at the bottom of the slide, staring at me, hair matted to her face, her mouth twisted, like she was trying to speak, but couldn't. Then she crawled back up the slide. I ran. Joe was already at the register, clutching the crucifix he kept in his pocket. "She's not supposed to be able to show herself," he whispered. That was the last shift he worked. I came in Friday, and Darla told me he quit. No notice. Just left his uniform in a garbage bag outside. Now I was alone. The next few nights blurred together, whispers from the freezer, the sound of nails scratching the stockroom walls, fries dropping into oil without anyone there. I tried to quit, but Darla begged me, said she'd give me a raise, that I was the longest someone had lasted in 6 months. And deep down, I was curious. I wanted to know what she wanted. Saturday night was the last straw. A car pulled into the drive-thru. 3:12 a.m. the screen came on. Static. Then a voice. "2 souls for one." "What?" I said, trying to keep my voice calm. The screen flashed. For a moment, I saw my own face, only older. Pale, dead eyes. Then it was gone. I ran to the back and locked the door. The freezer began to hum louder, louder. A wail rose from behind the metal. Not a scream, a plea. let me out. I never opened it. I stayed until morning, eyes fixed on the door. When Darla came in, she looked at me with pity. You saw her, didn't you? I nodded. She sighed. Most don't make it this far, but if you work one more week, she'll leave you alone. I asked why. Because she only wants the week. I didn't go back. A week later, I heard on the news that the McDonald's had a break-in. The security footage was missing. The report said the police found the cameras all melted. Not stolen, melted. But that's not what got me. What got me was the last thing they found. In the freezer frozen solid was a single human tooth. I moved across the state. I never told anyone. Until now. So if you're thinking of applying to a quiet night shift, maybe fast food off the highway don't. Not all customers leave, and not all ghosts stay dead. There's something about fast food chains that makes them feel too familiar to be dangerous. Maybe it's the fluorescent lights, the overly sanitized tables, or the smell of fries that seems to linger in your skin. But what happened to me at the McDonald's on Pine Hollow Road wasn't familiar. It was the furthest thing from normal, and I have the footage though. No one will ever see it. Back in 2021, I worked as a night shift manager. I was 26, still living with my mom, saving money to get out of Pittsburgh. McDonald's wasn't glamorous, but it paid. Most nights were slow, just a few Ubers, truckers, or sketchy teenagers. Nothing I couldn't handle. But the new security system they installed changed everything. Corporate had insisted on upgrading our cameras, said there had been a series of break-ins across franchises in the tri-state area. We got full 360-degree coverage, kitchen, dining area, bathrooms, even outside near the dumpsters. The first week was fine. The footage was crystal clear. We had a little monitor in the back office that looped all the feeds. I'd even use it to bust employees slacking off. But then one night, something. It was around 2:45 a.m. I was alone, cleaning the shake machine. The cameras were on in the background. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement on Cam 3, the indoor play area. I stopped. That part of the store had been closed for over a year. I stared at the monitor. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the plastic ball pit rippled, like something was under it. I walked to the window and looked. Nothing. Empty. I went back to the monitor. That's when I saw it. A figure, just for a second. A child, no. Something child-sized crawling into the slide. It moved fast. Too fast. I paused the feed. Rewound. It wasn't there. I told myself I imagined it. The next night, same time, 2:45 am, checked the footage obsessively. And again, Cam 3 flickered. This time, I saw it clearly. A kid in a McDonald's birthday hat, sitting in the play area, staring straight into the camera. His face, smeared, like someone had tried to erase it with static. I ran to the play area again. Empty. When I returned to the monitor, he was gone, like he knew I'd checked. I called corporate the next morning. They told me to reset the system. But when I brought it up to my coworker Tasha, she went pale. He saw him too, she whispered. Apparently, she'd seen him once while locking up, thought it was a prank. But when she walked over to the play area, the door slammed behind her, locked itself. Took her 5 minutes to get out, and she swore she heard giggling in the air vents. I should have quit, but curiosity eats at you. So, I did something stupid. I stayed overnight, told everyone I was closing early to deep clean, locked up. Then I sat in the office with the cameras. At 2:45 a.m., Cam 3 went black. No static, just pitch black. Every other camera was fine. I switched views. Cam 4, the hallway by the freezer, showed something else. Footprints, tiny, wet, child-sized footprints leading toward the back room. I got up, heart thudding. I opened the door. The hallway was bone dry. I stepped out, and then I heard it. A soft voice. "Wanna play?" I spun. Nothing. Just a humming freezer. Back in the office, the monitor had gone blue. System reset. Except it hadn't. When I checked the recordings the next morning, Cam 3 footage was corrupted. A note popped up. Video file not compatible. I pulled the raw drive, took it home, and tried playing it on my laptop. It worked. But what I saw still haunts me. The footage starts normal. Then, around 2:46 a.m., the play area seems to breathe. The walls flex inward, like lungs. A shadow moves scrawling across the walls and floor like liquid. It stands in front of the camera, and then it forms a shape. A child's body. Limbs stretched too long. Its head rotated slowly, like a broken doll. Then it smiled and said, clear as day, delete me? I slammed the laptop shut. I tried showing it to Tasha the next day, but when I opened the file it was blank, not corrupted, just empty. No sound, no picture, just a timestamp in black. That night, the store had a power outage. All cameras fried. Corporate sent a guy to fix them, but he fell off a ladder in the play area and broke his arm. Said something, pushed him. I believed him. Corporate never mentioned the footage again. We got new cameras, but Cam 3 was permanently disabled. They told us not to bring it up to customers. Tasha quit 2 weeks later. I stayed for a while. But one night, I saw the shadow in the fryer oil, just for a second, like it was trying to crawl out. I quit the next morning. I still have the original file. I keep it on a USB in a box under my bed. Sometimes, when I can't sleep, I think about watching it again, but something in the back of my mind always whispers, once you see him, he sees you. That's why the footage was never released. Not because they're hiding it, because they're protecting us. It was supposed to be a joke. Me and my 2 friends, Jason and Malik, had this tradition. Every few weeks, we'd pick a random spot and dare each other to spend the night. We'd done abandoned houses, parking garages, even a retirement home's backyard once. But one night, Malik had a new idea. Let's stay overnight in a McDonald's, he said, grinning. One of those 24-hour ones. Why? I laughed. We'll get kicked out. Not if we time it right, he said. Come in late, act like we're ordering, then wait until staff changes or goes to the back. Find a booth, lay low. It was stupid, but we were 19, bored, and too proud to say no. We picked the McDonald's near the edge of town, the one next to the woods and train tracks. It was weirdly empty most nights. A few workers, no drive-thru. We showed up at 11:30 p.m., ate a few burgers, waited until midnight, then scoped the place. There were 3 staff working, a guy at the counter, a girl cleaning tables, and someone cooking in the back. By 12:45, they all went into the kitchen. We slipped into the last booth near the kids area, behind a fake tree. Lights dimmed at 1 a.m. shift change, maybe. Then we waited. At first, it was fun, whispering, joking, filming ourselves like we were making a dumb YouTube vlog. But by 2:30 a.m. things got strange. Jason was the first to notice. Where are the workers? He asked. The place was silent. We hadn't heard a fryer, a voice, a footstep in nearly an hour. Malik peeked over the booth. Kitchen lights are off. No way, I said. They don't just leave. We debated leaving, but curiosity won. We got up, walked cautiously toward the kitchen. Empty. No one, no staff, no sound. Food, half-cooked. Fries in the oil, bubbling slowly. Drive-thru screen blinking, but no people. Then we heard it. A giggle, childlike, high-pitched, coming from the play area. We froze. There's no kids here, Jason whispered. Maybe someone left the TV on, Malik said, his voice cracking. We walked back toward our booth. That's when we saw it. A small figure, sitting in the ball pit. Not a child. Too still, pale, almost grey, wearing a paper crown. I stepped forward. The figure didn't move. Then it slowly turned, its head mechanical, stiff. Its eyes were huge, glossy. Wrong. Let's get out, I said. We ran to the front door. Locked. The doors were sealed shut. Even the emergency exit had no handle. Panic set in. Jason banged on the glass. Malik tried his phone, no signal. That's when the lights flickered. The entire store went black for 2 seconds. When they came back on, the figure in the ball pit was gone. Then the TVs came on. Old commercials. Like really old. 90s McDonald's ads. Grainy and distorted. Ronald McDonald dancing in slow motion. Kids laughing in reverse audio. Jason screamed. On the screen above the counter, he saw himself. A live feed, but he was sitting alone in the booth, like we'd never left. Only we were all standing in front of the screen. We turned around. The booth was empty. That's when the smell hit us. Rotten meat. Burnt plastic. Malik doubled over, gagging. I grabbed his arm. We need to move. We ran into the kitchen. The freezer door was open. Cold air poured out like fog. Inside, hanging from the ceiling, were paper crowns. Hundreds of them, all swaying gently. We heard the door slam behind us, then footsteps above us on the ceiling, scratching, like something crawling on all fours. Jason grabbed a metal tray and held it like a weapon. We're getting out, smashed the window. We ran to the front. Jason hurled the tray. The glass cracked just a little. Enough. We kept smashing until the panel shattered. We climbed out, cutting our hands and legs, but we didn't care. Once outside, the building looked different. No lights, no signs, just a black, windowless structure in the shape of McDonald's. We ran down the road to the gas station and called 911. By the time the cops arrived, the store looked normal again. Lights on. Staff inside. Confused. They said we were trespassing, that we'd broken in and damaged property. We tried to show the footage on Malik's phone. It was gone. Just static. The booth. It was empty. But we remembered. All three of us. A week later, Jason went missing. 2 weeks after that, Malik was found sleepwalking into traffic. I moved states, changed my name. Sometimes I see that paper crown in my dreams. And every time I pass a 24-hour McDonald's, I look inside, just to make sure no one's sitting in the bullpen. It started with a complaint. I ordered and no one gave me my food. The man shouted through the headset. I've been sitting at the window for 10 minutes, but when I checked the camera, no one was there. This was my second week working drive-thru nights at a McDonald's off I-70 in Indiana. I was a senior in high school, saving up for college, and night shifts paid more. I didn't mind the weirdos, the truckers, or the occasional drunk college kid. I had earbuds, caffeine, and a quiet booth to myself. But this night was different. We had a rush around midnight, then a lull. That's when the first complaint came. An angry voice. No car. I brushed it off as a prank. But the next night, it happened again. Same complaint. Same voice. No car. I asked my manager, Kelsey, about it. She looked annoyed, then nervous. Don't worry about it, she said too quickly. Probably a tech glitch. So I started watching closer. By the fourth night, I noticed something strange. Every time the voice came through, the same thing happened. The order showed up on the screen. The headset activated. The Windows sensor chimed, but there was no vehicle. Then people really started vanishing. It was a Thursday. A silver Honda pulled up to the first window. Young guy, beard, looked half asleep. I took his card, handed it back, told him to pull up. He never made it to the second window. I leaned out to look. No car. I checked the lot. Nothing. It was like he'd vanished between windows. Kelsey shrugged it off. Maybe he drove off. I reviewed the footage. He didn't. He vanished. One frame he's there. The next gone. I showed Kelsey the video. She deleted it. That's not something you want to keep, she said, smiling like nothing was wrong. That night, I stayed late. At 3:17 a.m., a car pulled up, black SUV, tinted windows. The driver didn't roll down the window. I asked for their order. Nothing, just silence. Then the lights on the SUV flickered. The engine sputtered. I watched through the camera as the passenger window slowly rolled down. There was no one inside. Empty seats. No driver. No lights on the dashboard. And then I heard it breathing. Heavy. Wet. Like something was right behind me. I turned fast. No one. When I looked back, the SUV was gone. No engine sound. No tires. Just gone. I ran into the dining area. Kelsey was mopping. I shouted at her. She looked at me with dead eyes. You heard them, didn't you? She asked. Heard what? The ones that stay behind. I quit that night. Didn't even clock out. But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, I got a text from Evan, another guy who worked nights. He sent a photo. It was a picture of the headset screen. Order number 666. Items, nothing listed. Status, in transit. I didn't put that in, he wrote. He disappeared 3 days later. Police found his car still idling outside the drive-thru. Door open. No sign of him. I drove by last month, just to see it again. The place is shut down, boarded up, sign faded. But if you walk near the drive-thru window, the motion sensor still chimes. And if you listen closely, just after midnight, you might hear it too. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your soul? I didn't believe the rumors at first. People said the McDonald's on the corner of Hillside and 32nd was cursed. Not haunted, cursed. Every employee that worked there quit within weeks, some after days, a few after a single shift. When I got hired, I figured it was just a management problem. Maybe the boss was a jerk, or maybe the hours sucked. But I needed a job, and it paid $16 an hour. I told myself I'd be different. My first shift started on a Monday. The manager, Diego, was friendly but tired, really tired. He looked like someone who hadn't had a full night's sleep since 2003. He gave me the tour, showed me the headset, the fryer, the soda machine, all normal, until we reached the walk-in freezer. "This," he said, "is off limits after 10 p.m. I laughed. "Why?" He looked at me, eyes hollow. "Because she doesn't like visitors." I thought it was a joke, some weird hazing ritual. I played along. My first 2 nights were uneventful. I worked the grill, cleaned the lobby, stocked sauces. Easy, but I started noticing odd things. The fryer would beep at random intervals, even when turned off. The bathroom lights flickered constantly, but only when I was inside. And once, while taking out the trash, I saw a face reflected in the drive-thru window behind me, pale, expressionless. But when I turned, no one was there. I asked Diego if the cameras worked. He shook his head. "They don't record. Never have. System resets every night." One night, a new guy named Eric joined the team. Fresh out of college, smart, polite. He asked too many questions. By his second shift, he was pale and sweating. "I saw someone in the freezer," he whispered. We hadn't told him the freezer story. I asked what he saw. He said it was a girly 20s, long black hair, hospital gown, standing between the meat shelves, staring at him. He quit the next morning. Diego didn't act surprised. "You saw her too, didn't you?" He asked me the next night. I didn't answer. He poured us both black coffee and told me the story. 10 years ago, before it was a McDonald's, the building was a psychiatric clinic. Underfunded, overcrowded, one patient, Laura M., went missing inside the facility. Last seen in the basement freezer unit during a power outage. They never found her. 2 weeks later, the place closed down. McDonald's bought it cheap. Renovated, rebranded. The hauntings started immediately. Every employee who saw her either quit, disappeared, or lost their mind. "She feeds off routine," Diego said. "That's why she stays in chain restaurants. She watches us, waits for patterns, then she breaks them." I thought he was insane, until the freezer door opened by itself right in front of us. No wind, no malfunction, just slow, deliberate movement. Inside empty shelves, and a single red paper clown nose sitting on the floor. That wasn't there earlier. I started seeing her after that, always, just for a second, in reflections, in the corners, in the foggy freezer glass. Once, I saw her on the other side of the drive-thru window, grinning. I stopped sleeping. I tried to quit, but Diego begged me, said if I stayed until the end of the month, she'd move on to the next person. That's how he survived, by training replacements. I said no, walked out, never looked back. 2 days later, I saw Diego's obituary in the paper. Cardiac arrest in the walk-in freezer. They said the power failed. He froze to death. I drove by that McDonald's last week, boarded up, a for sale sign out front. But the weirdest part, there was a light on in the freezer, and I swear, there was someone standing behind the glass, smiling. These are stories of McDonald. Now comment your best story and your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe a channel.